Denny's wanted to live stream a bunch of weddings from their restaurant on Fremont Street downtown. So we live streamed like, I don't know, 20 or 30, I forget what it was, weddings that were just nutty. It was fantastic. Nice. So in August 1st, 2006, I launched Podworx, which is the company that I run today. And Podworx is an internet broadcasting company. We specialize in podcast, live streaming videos, and TV channel production. So my job is to solve the problem traditional websites have created. And we do that by combining 37 years of media experience with 25 years of sales and marketing experience. And by doing that, we know exactly how to plan, produce, publish, and promote content to do one of two things: make you money or motivate people to take action on your behalf. And from there, we've launched the Vegas Video Network, Vegas Video Co-op, Livestream Las Vegas, and the Scott Whitney Academy. So that's what my background is.
Why don't we talk about technology? We talked about the studio, but like, what software do you typically use? What cameras do you use?
Yeah.
Microphone,
Yeah, for live streaming, you mean?
Yeah, let's start with live streaming.
Yeah, so I got into live streaming after, Podworx started in 2006. It was all audio podcasting. And when I started the Living in Las Vegas show, it was audio based. And I wanted to do video, but video back then was a pain in the ass, and especially post-production. The truth of the matter is, I'd rather eat a bullet than do post-production. It takes too much time and it costs a lot of money. So I never really got into it until 2009, and that was back when I became aware of TriCasters. And that was the first time I realized, wait a minute, you can do live switching of multiple cameras, and you don't have to do any post-production. So in 2009, we became a TriCaster company. I got a TriCaster Pro, 3 cameras, SD. I think it was, I don't know, $19,000. And I became a TriCaster guy. And I think I've owned 6 or 7, maybe 8 TriCasters, up to the 850, which is an 8 camera that we use for the Vegas Video Network. And that was fine and good, but TriCasters are a pain in the ass to move around. And when I wanted to do the live stream Las Vegas, I wanted to come up with a different solution. And that's when we came upon vMix. I did I looked at a number of different platforms out there, and there's a bunch. Some are free, some not. And I didn't care about the cost because I'm a business. I expect to get that money back. I just wanted something that worked. And there was a couple that were in the same-ish pricing range. And again, I stumbled upon vMix and did some sniffing around, found a couple cool communities, and realized, ruh-roh, this thing is fantastic. And the truth of the matter is, there is nothing I could do on a TriCaster that I can't do on vMix. However, I can do a ton of things on vMix that nobody can do on a TriCaster. So for me, we bet the business on vMix, and it was a huge smart play for us. We have them on basically every computer that does any kind of video content. We've got a copy of vMix on there, and we've got the high end of vMix Pro for all of our live stream Las Vegas stuff. So that's my primary software for that. For cameras, it depends. Like in the studios, we're using Canon XA 25s, quite frankly. And sometimes we use higher end cameras if required by the client, but again, it's not usually that required. For the live stream Las Vegas business, for the longest time, we used Sony SRG 300 cameras, which are PTZ cameras. And we love the PTZ play because it allows me to have smaller staff, but I can do lots and lots of pretty groovy stuff. So I do a 3-camera PTZ play. As a director, I can move those cameras myself. I can look like there's 8 of us with hundreds of different shots, and it's just me. So we use those cameras.
It is just like when you do these live streams, is it typically just you as director, cameraman, sound man, producer?
Yeah. Usually Yeah. Usually it's me, and I have another guy who's a producer, Nick. And Nick does a lot of the setup, and he's my technical guy as well. He checks for any kind of troubleshooting when he's a network guy. Obviously, networks are important in live streaming. So typically, though, I'm the one who's doing all of the camera manipulation. Now, sometimes, like in concerts, we may need to have a live camera guy like up on stage and shooting content as well. And so then Nick actually is that guy. So we used the Sony cameras for a while, the SRG 300s, but they were not good at all in low light. And a lot of concerts tend to be low light. So we struggled, quite frankly, with that for a while, and it always just kind of pissed me off. And then eventually we stumbled upon BirdDog and picked up 3 BirdDog P400s, and I couldn't be happier with those cameras. The software interface, the web interface can be it was a little rough for a while. They just did a recent update. It's a lot more stable now. But the optics on that camera are fantastic. And all the stress I had about low light just went away. And so I'm a huge fan of those. We're probably going to buy a bunch more BirdDogs as soon as before the end of the year for sure.
Nice. All right.
Things that you need is persistence. It's the same for live streaming and for podcasting. There's a concept called pod fading, which is a podcast that gets started but ends prematurely because of like a time or planning or money. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is, especially for podcasting is the only medium in the world where 100% of the people who are consuming your content actually give a damn about what you say. There's nowhere else you can do that. Radio, print, TV, nope, can't do it. But if I subscribe to your podcast, I've raised my hand and said, Alex, I want to hear what you have to say. If you end the podcast early, if you pod fade, you've told me that my vote doesn't count, which is not a feature. So one of the things that we tell people is if you want to engage with us, you gotta believe. It's gotta last. And so we don't do short-term podcast agreements with people because we realize that if you pod fade, again, it's not a feature. It's not going to help you. It could actually hurt you if you pod fade so quickly that people are like, "What, Alex? You don't want any part of that."
Yeah, we talk about the live stream Las Vegas a little bit more. Like,
sure. What would you like to know?
What have you done? Some recent streams, right?
Well, probably the most recent cool one was Rolling Stone magazine hired us. They reached out to do Life is Beautiful. So Life is Beautiful is a big music festival we have here every year. And it's a 3-day festival with a bunch of people who I don't know who any of them are. My kids do. I don't. And they wanted to interview a lot of these musicians. And so they reached out to us and asked if we could do that for them, and we said yes. And it was a really cool setup. So there's a record store in downtown, 11th Street record store, and behind it is an old analog studio. Really cool, very 70s hippish kind of stuff. And so we went in there and set up there. We brought in the lights and provided guidance on how to do the set and what to put there. And, we put some guitars, amps, and whatever. And it was a simple 3-camera stuff. And they were interesting. They did not want us to use the PTZ cameras. They wanted us to use higher end Sony cameras because that's what they use in their New York studio. So it has that bokeh, B-O-K-E-H look, right? Where this guy's in focus and the rest is blur. That's what that bokeh means. And they wanted the same thing. Well, the PTZ cameras don't do that. So we got some really very fancy, $10,000, $20,000 cameras, and popped those up and put cameramen on each one of them, and it looked gorgeous, and they loved it, and it was fun. And I got to meet Shaggy, which was fun as well. He was the only guy I knew. Yeah, he was the only guy who I knew. I'm like, fantastic. What's up, man? He was very, very nice. By the way, he did a bunch of Sinatra songs on his latest album, produced by Sting. And it's really a pretty cool reggae American songbook kind of vibe.
I'm a
So-
huge fan. I'm a huge fan of covers. Believe it or not, that is probably my favorite genre.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, it's
Listening
fun.
to artists transform other artists' work.
Right?
That's-
I love that stuff. So we've done stuff like that. We've worked with Nevada College. We worked with Raising Cane's. They just opened up a new place on the Strip, and we did a food eating contest with Joey Chestnut, I think his name was. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the that cat. So he came in and ate, I think it was 43 chicken fingers in 5 minutes, and we live streamed all that. It was a hoot.
So slow day for him.
Yeah, right.
What advice do you have for somebody who wants to start podcasting? They haven't started yet. They have an idea for a show.
Yeah.
Where do they start? Who do they buy? Who do they talk to?
Yeah, the first question is, what are you doing it for? What's the measurement of success? So again, and you really do have to know this. Otherwise, a producer can't help you. So remember, you have to entertain or educate. And by the way, if it's going to be me and my buddies, we're really good at sports, we're going to drink some beers and we're having a good time. Yeah, you're having a good time because you're drunk. But we're not going to think you're that funny. So if it's that, you may want to rethink it. But then you've got to decide, what's your measurement of success? Do you want to make money, or do you want to motivate people to take action on your behalf? Because that will help the producer understand how to help you. And by the way, the truth is, if you think it's to make money, you're probably wrong. Only because advertising on podcasting is laughably cheap. So today, if you have 1,000 verified podcast downloads, I think it earns you about $25, which is just dumb. I've got 1,000 people who are listening to me, and you're going to give me $25? I don't think so. So there are certain ways that you can earn money on podcasting if you want to do advertising. We call it host-based endorsements. And there are certain kinds of ways of doing that where that plays out and you can earn a lot of money. The Vegas video or live stream, living in Las Vegas, we earned 5 figures for a number of years from host-based endorsements. But that wasn't its intent. Typically, the intent for my clients is to motivate people to take action on your behalf. In other words, the reason why you're doing this, Alex, is not to get advertising on Speedify Live. It's to get people to understand that your software, your solutions can help them, and they'll pay you bigger money than $25 for 1,000 downloads. That's motivating people to take action on your behalf.